Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Jordan and welcome to today's video. We are kicking off another round of ARC reviews. These types of reading vlogs and videos are some of my favorites to do on my channel. Last year I tried to stick with monthly ARC review vlogs for all of the books that I had gained access to that were releasing in the following month. I did start to get a little behind on those videos towards the end of the year, so now this is my chance to catch up and get back ahead. So I am reading 2 months worth of ARCs in this vlog. The good news is that's actually not too many books to get through, only 4 books. I have 2 that release in January and 2 that will release in February. And the idea here is just to get reviews out as early as possible so that other potential readers know if these books are for them. You can decide for yourself if you want to pick these up. And it's kind of just a random, I don't know, mishmash of my own personal tastes as far as the ARCs that I request. So if you've got similar tastes to me, hopefully we can find some winners to recommend in this video. Really quickly, in case I have any new, readers and viewers, I just want to define ARC as an advanced reader copy. It is a copy of a book that's given to a reviewer ahead of time, ahead of its publication date, in order to get honest reviews out there that they're hoping will generate buzz for the book and get other readers to decide to pick it up and or purchase it. The most common place that I get access to the ARCs that I read is Netgalley, which is a free website that anyone can sign up for an account on, and you request electronic copies of these books. I got a Kindle not this last Christmas in 2024, but 2023, and that has become my absolute new favorite way of reading ebook copies of ARCs. So I don't see this stopping anytime soon, and I'm excited to get into the books that I will be reviewing in this video. So like I said, I've got 4 books to talk about. So let's first start with the books releasing in January. By the time you're seeing this vlog, there is a good chance that they've already been released. So the very first one I have is The Last Bookstore on Earth by Lily Braun Arnold. This is a queer sci-fi book that looks like it follows 2 teen girls as they fall in love and fight for survival in an abandoned bookstore. And it looks like it's apocalyptic and might have a mix between like those action-y survival elements as well as some of the broader issue discussions about what brought the world to the state that it's in. Obviously it is queer, and queer sci-fi books have become a little niche and subgenre within sci-fi that I've come to really enjoy. I do really like the commentary that comes along with that when we're talking about futuristic scenarios and getting a glimpse into what, LGBTQ rights look like in the future, what that acceptance looks like. Are we moving forward as a society? Are we moving backwards? I like to see how those different scenarios play out. And this one definitely appealed to me because of that bookstore element. Obviously, I love books, so any book set in a bookstore sounds fun to me. And this book releases on January 7th, so it's definitely out by the time you're watching this video. The next book that I will be reviewing within this vlog is I Think They Love You by Julian Winters. I believe this is a queer adult contemporary romance about these 2 men who fall in love. It looks like it contains the tropes of second chance romance as well as fake dating. Second chance romance I do tend to really enjoy. Fake dating doesn't always work for me as much because of how much I have to suspend my disbelief. But come on, the cover of this book is just beautiful, and so I'm still excited to give this one a try. And this does release on January 28th, which happens to be my birthday. This video should be coming out before then, so keep your eye on this release if my review makes you interested in it. All right, then I've got, like I said, 2 February books to talk about. So the first one is called Needy Little Things by Chanel Desamores. Not sure how to pronounce that last name. I tried to look it up, but couldn't find any interviews with her or anything. This book looks to be a young adult mystery thriller with some speculative, sci-fi or sort of magical realism elements to it. It looks like it's about this main character who has these, premonitions, these little visions about what people around her need, and she tries to fulfill those. It's giving That So Raven, love that. It's also giving me vibes of The Cost of Knowing by Brittany Morris, who is one of my favorite authors, and that is a 5-star book by her. I am very, very excited to get to this one, and I hope it lives up to the hype that I'm building up for it internally. I think this is a debut author, so that is exciting, and this book releases on February 4th. And then the 4th and final book that I will be reading for this video is Famous Last Words by Gillian McAllister. This, I believe, is an adult mystery thriller that, reading the description, feels like it's hitting pretty close to home. It sounds like it's about a main character who is a new mother. She has been on maternity leave, and on the first day that she's supposed to be going back to work after her maternity leave, she wakes up and her husband isn't there, and it sounds like he's caught up in this hostage negotiation situation. In case you didn't know, I recently had a baby. I am currently on maternity leave until early March. So hopefully this doesn't work its way in my real life and I don't find myself in a similar situation. But kind of interesting that I will have that connection to it. I have really enjoyed Gillian McAllister's books in the past. Specifically, Wrong Place, Wrong Time is my favorite by her. So I'm hoping it gives me similar vibes and feelings as that book did. But this one releases on February 25th. So as you can see, we've got a real range of genres in this video, so I'm excited to get a whole bunch of variety from these 4 books. I will plan to do this vlog style, including hopefully some b-roll of aforementioned baby if I can manage it. I've got 3 kids total and life is just a very chaotic mess with all 3 of them around, but I will do my best to get some b-roll footage for you. Otherwise, I will plan to be back, I think, once I've finished each book and I can give you more of a complete synopsis in my own words, as well as, of course, my review and my thoughts and who I would recommend these books to. So stay tuned. First up will be The Last Bookstore on Earth. Alrighty, I've got Kato Potato here for my first update. Not sure if the book cover will cover up his face, but I have finished my first book for this video. I finished The Last Bookstore on Earth. And here, I can move him over here. All right, this book is very light sci-fi. It's like an apocalyptic survival story, and it follows this woman who is the owner of a bookstore. And obviously, if the world is going through an apocalypse, a bookstore is probably one of the first things to go obsolete. People are not going to be shopping for books when they are all of a sudden needing to really scrounge around for things like food and water. But somehow our main character has managed to keep her bookstore open through this apocalyptic situation. I forget exactly how long we are into this situation, but I don't know, like a year or something. It's been quite a while. And the way she apparently has managed to do this is by offering the service of basically collecting letters from people who are traveling through as they go to other places for survival. They will drop letters off for their loved ones, and then she keeps them until the loved ones come into her shop and say that they're expecting a letter or an item or whatever it is she's holding. So this has basically become her secondary business, and it's how she's been able to survive this apocalyptic situation because she doesn't charge them money to provide this service, but she ends up collecting things like food and water and helpful items, things like that, from all these travelers who are passing through. And then I guess the plot of the book kicks off when one day she is at her bookstore because she never leaves, and she realizes someone has broken into her bookstore, and it's this other girl who is traveling through, and they end up striking up this sort of relationship and kind of trying to survive together. You are so cute, buddy. So this book, it didn't do anything wrong. There's nothing I can pointedly say I didn't enjoy about it. For some reason, it just never really connected with me. In fact, it actually has a lot of things going for it that are positives. Like, I love a queer sci-fi story. I typically love a survival story. I think I'm learning about myself that I don't love apocalyptic sci-fi stories, especially the ones that are a little bit slower, more character driven, and just very slice of life. I think if I'm following characters within an apocalypse type situation, I would like the grander view. I would like to know what exactly happened. What was the downfall of society and how did it affect everybody? I think I find that more interesting than just following a very small subset of characters and how they specifically were impacted. And I don't think that's true for everybody. I'm sure there are a ton of people who really enjoy slice of life, singular character, apocalyptic or survival stories where you really don't get much information about what actually happened to the rest of the world. But yeah, that's unfortunately not me. And like I said, there's nothing I would say was wrong with this book or was bad about it. I just didn't personally connect to it. I didn't connect to these main characters. I was kind of just reading to finish it more than I was reading to really find out what happened to them. I didn't feel all that invested. So unfortunately for me, it's 3 stars, and I don't feel like I have much more to say about it. I don't have deep, profound thoughts. If it sounds interesting to you, if you do think that would be up your alley, I would recommend it. But if you are like me and you like things to be a little bit more fast-paced, plot focused, and give like the grander view of things, then I don't think this is the sci-fi for you. So that is the first book. I will be back once I have finished my next one and can give you another little review. What do you think? Can you see yourself? Can you see yourself, buddy? Yeah, who's that cute baby? Who's that cute baby? Mwah. Mwah. Okay, ready to talk about the next arc that I finished, which is I Think They Love You by Julian Winters. This is an adult contemporary romance with 2 male main characters, or 1 male main character, but his male love interest. So male romance is what I'm trying to say. And this book intrigued me because first of all, the cover, I like it. And second of all, reading the description, it had some kind of buzzwords and tropes that sounded interesting to me. And I really enjoyed getting into the beginning of this book because I did really like all of basically the setup and those tropes, because our main character is the son of the CEO of this event planning company. And it's really like a family business. All of his relatives seem to work for this event planning company, and it sounds really fun. The book does a good job of describing like the types of events that they run. They're all very high end, and our main character is an event planner for this company. And then at the very beginning, his dad announces that he will be retiring from CEO, so he's looking for the next CEO. And our main character, along with 1 or 2 other characters, all basically put their names in the hat or in the ring to be considered to become CEO. So that's kind of the non-romance plot of this book, is that the main character is planning events, trying to prove himself capable of becoming the CEO of his dad's company. Then on the romance side, we get a few flashbacks back to when this main character was in college and he was in a relationship with this guy. And they seemed really in love, but eventually they broke up. They haven't talked to each other for quite some time. The love interest guy actually moved to like England or something for some number of years, and they completely fell out of touch when all of a sudden in this book they reconnect. Our main character kind of is in this situation where he thinks he needs to fake a relationship in order to come off as more, you know, stable related to that whole CEO situation. And he tries to fake it with this one guy, and it kind of ends up a comical mess. And then the real love interest kind of swoops in and saves the day and agrees to enter into a fake dating relationship with our main character. So the tropes of this book are fake dating as well as second chance romance, because they did have that relationship back in college. So the setup of all of that I really enjoyed. For some reason, as we got into the second half of the book, my enjoyment lowered a little bit. Something about the whole CEO thing just didn't really work for me. It felt really forced. And like, I'm sorry, but our main character was not qualified to even be in consideration for the CEO position. First of all, he's very young and he doesn't have all that much experience. Second of all, being the CEO of a company is like a huge step up from being a really good event planner, even for an event planning company. Like, those are two different skill sets. So it just became really unrealistic to me to imagine that this main character was actually in consideration for that role. And it just was annoying me. Like, every time he would make a mistake or every time he would think about becoming CEO, I would just be like, you're not ready, my guy. So that's a bummer that that stopped working for me. Though, again, the description of the events that they were planning, I did enjoy for the whole book. The relationship for these two characters I did enjoy for the most part. They do have a really deep understanding of each other, and I wouldn't say that this book is just completely surface level the whole time, but it definitely has more of the vibe of just being like a fun, cutesy, at times steamy contemporary romance, whereas I definitely enjoy more truly emotional, and it just didn't quite get there for me. But again, it's not to say I didn't enjoy it. So overall, I'm giving this book 3 stars. Sorry, that is a school bus making that squeaking noise outside. Yeah, I'm giving this 3 stars, and ultimately I would recommend it to anyone who thinks that that synopsis sounds interesting. Like, if the event planning subplot does sound fun to you and you like fun steamy romances, then I feel like this fits that bill. So nothing about it that I wouldn't recommend, which is always good. So that brings me to 2 3-star books. Fingers crossed that the February arcs that I'm reading are, I don't know, a little bit better or a little bit more enjoyable to me. We will see, but I guess I'll just get to reading them, and I will be back when I have the next reading update. Okay, you guys, I am back with my next update, and I'm so excited. I just finished Needy Little Things, and I don't even need to bury the lead. I loved this book so much, and I gave it 5 stars. I'm so happy that I loved this book so much. It sounded up my alley, and you know when you read the description of a book and you think you're gonna enjoy it and you just hope that it lives up to that internal hype? I very much had that feeling with this book, and I was a little bit worried that it wouldn't live up to the hype. Again, my internal hype, I'm not seeing much hype for this book, but there should be because it was so good. This is a young adult mystery book about this girl who's our main character, who is a Black girl in high school, and she has this weird sort of, I don't know, supernatural ability where she can sense things that people around her need. So like, if she's in a group of people, if somebody's outfit ripped and they need like a safety pin, they will just like emit this need for a safety pin, and she can sense it. And so she spends a lot of her life like giving people the things that they need. It's very much like it's sort of like a magical ability, but it doesn't feel like magic because it's not like this book is a fantasy book, and it's not like there's this whole magic system or anything to learn. It's just like this one girl has this weird ability, and it's just like that low level of speculative enough for me to really enjoy that. But anyway, that's our main character. She has that really interesting ability, and this book kicks off when one night she and her group of friends are going to this music festival, when all of a sudden she starts to get this strange need off of one of her friends that she is going to need pepper spray. And our main character is like, well, that's kind of weird, but we are going to a festival, so better safe than sorry. So she gives her friend some pepper spray. But then what ends up happening at that festival is that friend of hers goes missing. And that's what kicks off the whole rest of the book, and it really is just a mystery book trying to solve the mystery of what happened to one of her best friends. Our main character feels a lot of guilt because like she had that weird vibe from this need from her friend, but she didn't act on it or use it to take any other, you know, precautions to protect her friend when she could have guessed that she was going to be in danger. So because of that, our main character really spearheads the efforts of looking for her best friend. This book also has a lot of commentary on how when young Black women go missing, really any Black person, but it's specifically calling out like the stark contrast between a missing Black girl and a missing white girl, and how like the media attention, the social media attention, and the attention people in their town actually give to a missing person, a missing Black girl, is not the same as when it's a white girl who goes missing. And it seems like all these extra resources are deployed for white women all the time. And so again, this book is just making commentary on that in a very, very well-developed and thoughtful way. I know that a lot of people, at least my age and people I follow, you know, on BookTube, a lot of people are getting away from reading young adult books, but I just find them to be so good at getting through some of this really important social commentary, and I appreciate it so much. This book is absolutely one that I would recommend to fans of like Tiffany D. Jackson, because she has a lot of similar commentary throughout her books. I also would highly recommend this to any fans of Brittany Morris. This book reminded me so much of this book, The Cost of Knowing. It is so similar, it's a little bit weird. This book follows a boy, a Black boy, who has a similarly strange kind of supernatural power. In this book, whenever he touches an object, he can see into the immediate future of that object. So he kind of has visions very similar to That's So Raven, now that I'm thinking of it, and I think I said that in the intro of this video. All of these are definitely giving That's So Raven vibes. But in this book, he touches something and he sees something involving his brother that is really unfortunate, and it goes down that rabbit hole of seeing that play out. This is also super emotional. This has commentary on young Black boys specifically, so a little bit different in terms of what the message and commentary is, but very similar in that it does a great job with it. And like the covers of these are really similar. Also, I'm pretty sure both main characters work in an ice cream shop, which is a very interesting coincidence. But I absolutely loved this book. I absolutely loved this book. I cannot recommend them highly enough. Even if you don't read a lot of young adult, I know a common issue I have, or maybe not so much issue, but like worry I have when going into young adult books, is that they don't feel high stakes enough. And it makes total sense, because in real life, it's pretty hard for young adults to get themselves into situations that are so serious that the stakes feel high enough to make a reader of the story feel invested. Like, how many teenagers actually get themselves into life or death type situations? But this very much combats that, because our main character comes from a home life that is really difficult. And that is a whole kind of side plot within this book, is the main character's relationship with her mother and stuff that her brother is going through, and reasons that her parents maybe are more absent than the average teenager's parents, and how that directly affects what types of situations our main character gets in. So not only does it negate that sort of concern, but it uses that, I guess, to its advantage within the book. So I love that. And I do think that's something that adult books you don't get. Like, when this is done right, young adult books serve an entirely different purpose and can in those ways be even more complex than adult books on similar topics. So yeah, I'm so glad that this was such a win for me. So yeah, am I gushing enough? Am I convincing you to read this book? Let's see, it does come out on February 4th. So go ahead, set your pre-orders, set your library holds, do what you need to do. I really hope that I'm able to convince some people who this book appeals to actually pick it up. So with that, I am down to one final book for this video, so I'm gonna get to reading it, and I'll be back with that final update to let you know everything about that book and wrap this video up. Okay, my friends, great news. I just finished Famous Last Words, like literally just finished it while my baby is taking his first nap of the day. I put it down, wrote my review immediately, came in here to film this last clip, no time for makeup. And I'm so happy to say that I really enjoyed this book. This is a mystery. It's a pretty solid mystery. I really wouldn't call it a thriller. There's maybe a little bit of suspense in there, but it's just a true satisfying mystery. And it kicks off with this woman who, as I think I described in the beginning, she works in book publishing. She's a literary agent, and at the very start of this book, she is going back for her first day at work after maternity leave. And they live in London, so her baby is 9 months old. She got 9 months of leave. Sounds amazing. And when she wakes up on this day, she expects her husband to be there next to her in bed and to help her with the morning and everything, but he's nowhere to be found. And she immediately clocks that this is strange, because normally he would help her. He wouldn't just abandon her and leave her to fend for herself, especially on such an important and somewhat stressful day. So it's a little bit strange, but she figures that he must have had something for work come up. So she handles the morning by herself. As she's leaving, she notices a note that she thinks was left for her by her husband near their front door, but it's a very strange sort of note. She doesn't really understand what it means, but she thinks it's, again, an acknowledgement that he had something come up and couldn't be there to help her, and they'll reconnect later. She goes on with her morning and doesn't hear from her husband. That's strange, when all of a sudden she sees on the news that there is a hostage situation developing and 3 people are being held hostage in this warehouse. And she gets this weird feeling in her gut that her husband must be one of the hostages. And then she sees the police walk up to her workplace. So she's like, great, it's confirmed. And then kind of the kicker of this book, what sets it up to be a little bit interesting, is that the police come up to her and say, yes, your husband is involved in this hostage situation, but he's actually not one of the hostages being held. We believe he is the one holding them hostage. And that all happens within the first, 1 or 2 chapters of this book. So we continue to follow this woman as she tries to figure out why her husband is doing this. And then we also follow the perspective of the hostage negotiator, and the book goes from there. And this book was just so satisfying. It's a very, complex mystery, as Gillian McAllister tends to write. There are many layers to what's going on. This book also spans quite a lot of time, which I wasn't necessarily expecting going in, but I'm not surprised by that, because it did feel very similar in vibes to Wrong Place, Wrong Time, which was a very popular book written by this author a couple of years ago. I read it and really enjoyed it. This book does not have the same sort of gimmicky backwards time element that that book does, where in that book the main character is waking up and every day she's another day in the past. So she's basically solving the mystery backwards, which I thought was really cool. And this book does not at all have that. But again, vibes feel really similar, because that one ended up going way back in time, showing that this mystery had roots in something, seemingly small that happened so many years in the past that just kept snowballing. This one feels similar because the situation just keeps unfolding and unfolding. And it's like, if one thing had been different all that time ago, this whole situation wouldn't be what it is. And that I just find really satisfying to come to understand. Though the hostage situation itself doesn't take up the whole book, I did enjoy following the hostage negotiator's point of view. I recently read a nonfiction book called Never Split the Difference, which is written by an actual FBI hostage negotiator, and it's all about using hostage negotiation tactics in real life to your advantage. And I enjoyed picking out some of those strategies within this book. Obviously, Gillian McAllister did her research on hostage negotiation. But yeah, it was something a little bit different and unique that I don't know if I've ever read in fiction books before. And overall, I really, really enjoyed it. I don't know that it feels like a full 5-star book, because it's just missing that, I don't know, something that is like a twist or something I fully wasn't expecting to just, send me over the edge of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. Nothing like that happened, but what was in the book was just really satisfying and enjoyable, and I would so highly recommend it to anyone who just loves like a true mystery, especially if you like anything with crime and like following police and detectives and things like that. This isn't quite that, again, because it's the hostage negotiator, so he has a little bit of a unique point of view, but it's very similar in vibes to that. So if you like that in mysteries, if you've enjoyed Gillian McAllister's previous books, I really think you will enjoy this one as well. It is just really solid. So I'm giving it 4 stars, and I'm really glad that I read it and enjoyed it, of course. And overall, I feel like this is a very strong start to the year when it comes to my Netgalley arcs. I had 2 3-stars that I'm glad I read, and then a 5-star book and a 4-star book that I'm really glad I read and enjoyed so much and would most highly recommend. And so with that, please let me know, 1, if you have also read any of the books that I talked about here. 2 of them are not out yet, so let me know if you will be picking those up once they do come out. Let me know if you have read any January or February book releases this year that you have really loved and want more people to pick up. And lastly, let me know if you're excited for these ARC vlogs to continue. As I mentioned, I'm gonna try to get back on a good schedule with these and reading these books as much as possible in the month before they come out so that I can make recommendations. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one.